Elena's here with the papers. We were talking about this with Owen on the finance desk a little earlier. Another week, another Euro crisis summit. What are the papers making of today's crisis summit then, Elena?
Should we start in Greece? Now, they're not very happy, this time because of a leaked proposal that popped out over the weekend into the Greek paper Kathimerini, which reveals that apparently someone in the German finance ministry decided or thought that there should be a European commissioner appointed just to check that Greece fulfills its budget commitments. Now, Kathimerini reports today that that proposal would have committed Greece to paying back its IMF and EU loans before doing any public spending of its own, and it's provoked rage among Greek politicians. The finance minister said it was an attack on the dignity of Greece to try and bring it back to order just like that. So they're not very happy. And some of the papers around the world also sort of agreeing that maybe we've pushed Greece too far and we should stop trying to put endless rules and regulations on them. Look at this cartoon from The Independent. You've got Angela Merkel there with handcuffs, trying to handcuff the Venus de Milo, who of course doesn't have any arms anyway. So The Independent in their editorial also saying that maybe we've been a bit too harsh on poor Greece.
It's a pretty harmless cartoon, that one, isn't it? I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. I imagine they don't think that in Germany, though.
Certainly not. Let's have a look at this interview in Bild of one of Germany's economy ministers, Philipp Rösler. Now, he tells the tabloid that if the Greeks won't fulfil their own responsibility to control and monitor their budgets, then someone should be imposing leadership on them. The headline of that is, when are we going to put a stop to the Greek golden goose? So you can realise quite clearly from that what Bild thinks. They say either Greece observes the toughest budget discipline that Germany wants to impose on it, or it should be thrown out of the EU. And even among the less tabloid, more balanced end of the German media, they still don't think Angela Merkel is necessarily going far enough with Greece. In Der Spiegel, their editorial today, critics question Merkel's fiscal policy, fiscal pact. They say that, while this fiscal pact policy might be a good idea, although it might be impossible to enforce under EU law, but nevertheless it won't do anything to resolve the underlying problem, which is that the EU just doesn't have enough money in its bailout fund, which is being renamed, of course, today the European Stability Mechanism from Stability Facility. But in Der Spiegel they say, whatever you call it, there's still not enough money in it to bail out Greece, Italy and Spain if they can't pay back their debts.
OK, well, we've also been talking a lot about Syria today here on France 24 after a weekend of intense fighting there. What are the papers saying about that one?
There's an interesting piece in here in The Times where their foreign editor reports from Deraa in southern Syria, where he says the end is nigh for Assad. He reckons that inside and outside Syria, even people who support Assad have realised he will have to be gone by the end of the year, and they just need to find a way of convincing him that's the best thing to do. Now, in The Times leader, they suggest that perhaps the best way to do that would be to get an intermediary from a country that still backs Assad, maybe a Russian intermediary, to go into Syria and try and convince him that he needs to step down, because his current policy of investing everything in the military approach is suicidal. He just cannot win with all of the international community turned against him. That's what The Times thinks anyway, and they think that if no intermediary can be found to try and talk Assad into stepping down, then it's time for the UN to start drawing up plans for military intervention.
And Elena's also revisiting the story of Baltasar Garzon. This is the crusading Spanish judge who's facing corruption charges.
I am indeed, because thousands of people took to the streets in Madrid yesterday to demonstrate outside of a courthouse against what they call the judgments of revenge. Here they are on the front page of El País. Now, of course, they're protesting because they say Garzon is being made a scapegoat by right-wing elements of right-wing Spanish politicians who are associated with the Franquist regime. Theoretically, he's being charged with perverting the course of justice, and that's because he was digging into the history of some people associated with the Franquist regime, people responsible for murders and torture during that period, and that's not gone down very well with some elements of the Spanish right. If we have a look at ABC's editorial today, now that's a very right-wing Spanish newspaper, and they have a very opposing point of view to El País. They say that the fact that the left is so concerned in digging into history shows that they can't face the political realities of modern-day Spain, and they're just too focused on history and on what they call drama and histrionics.
OK, Elena, thank you very much. That's Elena's look at the international papers here on France 24. That's about it from us. In fact, we're back very shortly. Claire will have the latest headlines after the break. Do stay with us if you can.